Hello, friends. My name is Amy Stone. And in this video, what I want to do is I want to share with you what I am seeing is the difference between my podcast streaming show episodes that get a little bit of reach and the episodes that get a lot more exposure, visibility, and attention. And the reason I'm going to share this is because it might not be what you think. It surprised me a little bit, maybe a lot, actually, to tell you the truth. So, if you are not familiar with who I am, my name is Amy Stone. I'm the host of a show called The Art of Imperfect Adulting. And this is a show that is currently considered top 5% by a company known as Listen Notes. That's the name of it. So I'm not sharing this with you to brag or anything, but just to give myself hopefully a little bit of credibility. I check this periodically to hope that because it's 1 point away from this number going from 5% to 3%. But I want to put that in some context because I want to be very realistic about what that means and who I am. I'm not a celebrity. I don't have millions or even hundreds of thousands of people in my audience. And so these are the analytics, the recent analytics of my show. And the number, this is from my audio host, which is a company called Captivate. And my show for the audio downloads has 10,000 downloads in the last year. It's about a year old. So that's who I am. That's what I do. I have released over 200 episodes in the last 18 months. All of them are interviews. And so that is what I'm talking about today. These are not solo shows. This is not a branded show. This is an interview style show. And so what I want to talk about is that if you have had guests on your show or if you've ever been a guest on a podcast or a YouTube show and you did not actively participate in the promotion afterwards, you probably left some exposure and some reach on the table. And this is not a little bit of exposure or reach. This is a lot. What I'm seeing across my episodes is that the guests who collaborate with me on the promotion get 3 to 5 times more exposure and reach than guests who don't. Sometimes more. That's 300 to 500%. It's not a rounding error. That's the difference between 1,000 people and 5,000 people discovering that you exist based on this. And obviously there's some context to this because depending on, I'm not a celebrity, I don't have millions of followers, and most of my guests don't either. So it could be the difference between 100 and 300 or 500 or 1,000 and 300 and 500,000. Like that's the realistic thing here, right? So I want to talk to you and share a little bit about why I think this is happening, what it might really actually cost us to ignore this. And also I'm going to be really candid and talk about why sometimes as hosts and as guests, we might feel uncomfortable promoting our episodes that we're a part of and my personal tools and methods for moving through that. So I'm going to talk about the numbers. I can actually only speak for my own show. Obviously, that's the one that I make. But every episode that I release becomes an audio podcast. It is released as a YouTube video. There's a written article and a transcript that is posted. I send an email newsletter. I share social clips on a variety of social platforms, YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, and graphics, Facebook posts, TikTok, LinkedIn, and Threads. Those are the places that I currently share content. That's what I do for every single one of the episodes I produce on my show. And I don't charge anybody for it. This is not a pay-to-play platform. There are lots of people out there who do charge, and I actually don't have an opinion about that. But here, I just want to give people some context, if you didn't know, of what it would cost to buy that kind of reach and exposure if you were buying it in the form of ads, right? Ads on a podcast. So my understanding is that podcast audio ads cost about $25 per 1,000 audience, right? And there's different ways that people measure that. And then there's getting on to people's shows. That's something that you can pay a booking agent to do. I've never worked directly with a booking agent, but one of my guests told me that they paid a couple $100 a month for booking agencies. And so I looked it up and it was like 500 to 800 in their contracts that run over a couple months, right? So that's just to get the spot, on the show. And then if you want to place ads on like a Meta or something like that, the market rate, so just the average from the industry, looks like for my audience, which is women 25 to 55, is about $1.50 per click. So that's what some of those things cost if you want to pay for them. But what I do is I do collaboration, editorial content on a podcast interview, right? So for possibility content, one of my recent guests had a single image on an Instagram post, like a static image, a little square image on Instagram, had over 9,000 impressions. That's a massive amount for that on my platform. Single static image. Another one of my guests had nearly 200 views of her video on YouTube. That's close to 50 hours of watch time with just one video. And I am not a huge platform, right? These are small things. And so these were outliers that stood out that have me poring over, poring over my results to be like, what is it that, made this change, right? So you go on the shows, we produce the shows, we make them out there because we want visibility. As a guest, you want visibility for the work you're doing, for your expertise, for the things you offer, the book you've written, the TED Talk you've got coming out, the workshop you're hosting, the retreat you're doing, whatever it is. And the potential exposure is already there. And in my opinion, what I am seeing is that what actually determines how much of it you actually get, how much visibility and exposure actually shows up for this, is whether or not the guest and the host show up to make the most of it, right? The thing that I think is getting missed in a lot of these conversations is that I know. I know that guests come on my show because they want exposure to my audience. They want the people who are listening to my show to hear. That's the reason to come on my show. I get it. And I want you to have it too. I want my downloads to grow and for my audience to grow. And I have these amazing conversations, and I want as many people as can to see it. More of my audience will see your episode if we both interact on it. That's the tricky thing about this, is that me just putting it out there into the ethernet and on social media platforms just only moves the needle so far. And a large following does help. I'm not going to deny that it does help, but it shockingly doesn't move the needle as much as when there's interaction on those posts. That is the thing that I keep seeing over and over again that opens the door and changes what happens between just a wah, wah, wah to a beep, 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 everybody seeing it, right? The interaction appears to be, and I have poured over this, I cannot say that I'm an expert, I don't have any certificates or degrees, but what I think I have uncovered is that it's the interaction between people who are related to the post that opens the door for more people to be able to see it. The people that we're directly connected with, and also the potential of all the people that they're connected with, and so on and so on and so on, right? So I have heard for many, many years from people that I know, from people who are guests on my show, for people who I interact with in business communities, that sometimes sharing content feel and promoting the things that we create or that we do feels weird, it feels icky, it feels braggadocious, all of those things. People don't always want to feel or seem like they are pushing things on their social media platforms. And I hear it, I get it, and I've felt it myself. I totally, totally see this, right? When I have been a guest on other people's podcasts or a speaker in summits, sometimes when it comes time to do the promotion, it doesn't always feel like it fits into my social media flow, right? Like on my personal social media, I tell a lot of jokes and goofy things about my family and the world where I live in, lost luggage and kitchen mishaps and stuff like that. And maybe I go on a show and I talk about grief. And that's a weird segue. That's a weird segue. Like I've definitely felt it. Sometimes I also just kind of don't know what to say. And maybe I recorded it a long time ago. I'm like, what is this? What do I say? And truthfully, in my experience, sometimes hosts and people who produce summits and bundles and podcasts can be a little bossy about their expectations of what guests should do. I'll participate in something and put all this effort in, and then I get like a list of demands, like you committed to send 59 emails and stand on your head on social media and dance around deliverables, right? And sometimes it doesn't feel good to do that. I have been there. I have felt that. Right now, in this very moment, I'm in a situation where I would love to share something, but the person who created it didn't give me great materials. So I'm being featured in a magazine, and it looks like it's great. But when I found out that I was in the magazine, the only thing I got from the editor, the publisher, to share was a logo block on a clear, transparent background. And that's it. I don't know the title of my article. I don't know what page number it's on until I get it. And so I'm actually in this holding pattern. She probably feels like I'm not doing anything, which I am not, because I'm kind of waiting until I have the actual magazine to be able to share with people how cool it is. So I share all of those things to just be like, I have been on the other side of this and been like, what do I do? What am I supposed to, what's expected of me? How do I make the most of it? So from my perspective as a host, what that means is that from the get-go, I try to do anything I can to make it as easy as possible for my guests to share the episode. And truly, most people don't, right? And one of the reasons I work so hard on this is because it is a known common complaint from people who are content creators who work with guests that it's very hard to get guests to share the episodes. And so, when it happens, oh my God, it's so amazing. It's so amazing. The video I mentioned that got close to 200 views and 50 hours of watch time, she told me she sent an email. Not to she's not like an influencer or anybody that I know. She might have an email list. She's in her 70s. She's a lover of opera. Our conversation was about being a caretaker of her husband with Parkinson's. She may have a big publisher email list. I really should follow up and ask. Or she may have sent it to her bridge club. Honestly, but she sent it to somebody and they watched, right? The thing that I see consistently over and over again that is easier for me to see and makes just an outsized difference, that I think that if more people knew it, it's such a small thing to do, they would be doing it. It's like shout it from the rooftops, is collaborating with the promotional materials that the host puts out. So that is the thing that really moves the needle that I see for how much exposure and visibility my episodes are getting that I make with my guests, you guys, the co-collaborators. So what does that actually mean? It means liking and commenting on the social media posts on the various platforms. Share it within the platform if that feels like something you would do. It's a teeny tiny thing, and it makes an enormous difference. A post which has one comment, it's like a big jump. A post that gets a couple of comments from people, huge difference. And it makes the comments that we're looking for is, to start with, are the people who are involved in the post, right? Me and the guest, right? So let's talk about the bragging thing, right? Because I think it's reasonable, right? It does feel weird to be like, oh my God, I'm so famous. I was on this show. I'm so lucky. That's ridiculous, right? But I don't think that's what we actually need to do. I don't think this is a sales presentation. I don't think that anybody is asking for you to be like, oh, this great show is da da da. This is a confirmation. This is like an acknowledgement of something that happened, right? That you were there. It's like similar to being like, I went to dinner at this restaurant down the street. This is what I did. This is what happened. That's all it is. It's a collaboration. It's not a sales presentation. The show is the show and it sells itself. I think that's true for mine and for everybody's shows. So what I'm asking for my guests is just acknowledgement of the collaboration. Hey, thanks, Amy, for having me as a guest. I enjoyed our conversation about the global impact of caterpillars on trees, and my decision to knit my own socks from homemade caterpillar silk. I made that up because it's ridiculous, but that's it, right? This is where I was, so on and so forth. And the way I think about it, the way I put myself in a position to do this that I offer you today, is that the people who are connected to us in real life, in real communities, and also in social communities, they want to know what we're up to, what we're doing, That's it, right? They just want to know what we're doing and what we're up to. And so when you share with somebody that you were on my show or somebody else's show, or you talk about something that you're doing, what you made for dinner, what your kids are wearing, all of that, it's stuff that people are actually interested in if they're interested in us. So it's not an imposition, and it shouldn't feel weird. I don't think that you should do something that makes you feel weird, right? And the thing that's also very, very important about new social media that's helpful with this is that the way the algorithms and the tools are working today, people are not seeing it unless they're engaging in your content. Right. That's the reason I think that engagement is so important at this point. I don't know if that's always been true. So we're not trying to like beat anybody over the head with this or demand attention or game a system or break any rules or do anything that's like weird, right? It's like we have the conversation, acknowledge it. And the interaction between me, the creator of the post, and you, somebody whose name is tagged in the post and is involved, that turns out to be a pretty good, strong clue to these platforms that this is actual relevant content. So like it's, just the same as if we took a picture while we were out at coffee and we're like, hey, look at us, we got coffee. And it would show our friends that we got coffee. When we do this podcast, it's like, hey, we were there. And that's a signal that this is real. And then when if the other people are interested and they come in and make comment like, hey, it's so nice that you guys know each other. Those are the posts that then turn to get enormous reach. And so that's the ticket, right? The thing that we're looking for is when the platform not only knows that it's a real post we're sharing, but that it's also we're sharing with more people that they might be interested in. That's what the platforms want because they want people on the platform enjoying it, right? Again, like I said, I don't know if that has always been what made the social media needle move, or if it will work forever and ever in the future. This is not my specialty, but it is the actual thing that I'm working today. Now, also worth noting, it's not a direct link between, views on a social media platform and downloads of audio or watches of a video, but there is a connection. So like the Instagram post that got 9,000 impressions, it has a much higher number of listens, right? So there is a connection at some point. Okay. So what does this mean? What do I suggest that you do when you're a guest on a show, when you're on my show, which I can talk about as the host, that's me. If I invite you to collaborate on a social media post and you accept, that's great. If I tag you, take 5 minutes, go to that post, give it a like, make a comment that's over 5 words. So it's not just an emoji, like not just a thumbs up and not just like, hey, thanks, right? Something that is a sentence, right? A sentence. And if you feel like it and if you want to go for gold, share it within that platform. Share it as a direct message, share it to your stories, anything like that. That is the magic sauce that is making it take off that I'm seeing and make a difference. Social platforms are apparently, and I don't want to present myself as some sort of expert in something I'm not, that is the signal, and this is the thing that's important enough to say it twice in this video, that appears to be the signal that that individual piece of content is worth it to the platform to offer it out to other people, and that's what we want. It's something real. It's not necessarily spam. It's something that people might be interested in that matters. It's okay to share this to more people. 5 minutes to do this on social media content that I create for your episode might truly do more for your reach and exposure than you think, than buying a paid ad, than doing 10 more guest appearances on other shows, really commenting and engaging on the content from the one that you're on, right? So let's get honest here for a second. Okay. Just come in closer, just you and me. Let's just talk about it for real here, right? I think that most of us, and I can definitely speak for myself, me included, most of us would truly just love it if something that we created went even just a tiny bit viral that helped us level up the size of our audience and get to the next level of reach. And that's the reason that I'm sharing this with my guests and with anybody else who stumbles onto this video, right? Based on my obsessive research of what I see on the episodes that I produce and release with all of these guests, it's this one small thing that is making a difference. So, and it's on all of the platforms I talk about. A comment on YouTube, a comment on Instagram, a comment on LinkedIn, they make a big difference, and it like ratchets up exponentially. So I comment and like most of the things that I produce, but the platform knows that I'm the host. I'm the one that created it and does not convince it. But when you come in and reply and then there's a conversation, that is the thing that's like, oh, wait, there is somebody else who knows this, right? And I don't even, I will tell you this, like, so there's a bunch of posts on Instagram, a bunch of comments on Instagram that are obviously automated from different things. Those don't appear to do much of anything. But on YouTube, the guys that are making comments because they show up in my DMs because they want to increase, they want to pitch me to sell. If I write back to them, that does increase the visibility. And also the trolls, the people who post mean things, like those also increase the reach. So it's like there's not, it's pretty simple, right? So that's that. So we did the hard part, right? You did the hard part. You booked yourself on the show, you took the time to have the conversation, we made it, we edited it, we got it out on the platform. You shared your expertise, your story, your perspective. And this one last step to actually engage in this content, you don't have to create it. If you work with me, you don't have to create things. I create the materials, not anything amazing or exciting, but I create marketing materials that I give and then I put them out there. All you have to do is engage with the stuff that I put out there, and it increases the exposure for your episode. So that's what I wanted to share. My advice to you, the advice that I follow myself, do what you can to not leave this on the table because it's just there for the taking. Thanks for watching. Amy Stone signing off.